Hi there, KarenLoveLee here, and today we are going to be talking about the power of visualization, the power of the imagination, the power of our ability to see something that we desire, that we'd like to have in our reality. We want our dreams to become real, and this requires the ability to believe without seeing. Most human beings need to see it to believe it, but when it comes to the law of attraction, we must be able to believe with no evidence and see it in front of us as if it is already happened and it is real beyond belief. And the reason why most human beings will never realize their greatest desires, dreams, and passions is because of their inability to visualize their success and see it in front of them. And so we really want to help all of you understand the power of being able to visualize your goals and believe that they have already happened, like it's in the making. It's out there, and when you're ready to receive it, it will appear. And this has been my whole life. I have lived my whole life this way, of wanting something for no reason, and just because it feels good and it makes me feel happy inside, and I see it in front of me, and then sure enough, it happens. And so today, I have one of my clients, or my current clients, on the line with me to share her experience of what I do with my clients is a visualization, guided imagery to help heal the wounds from childhood, and then teaches you how to trust this process of visualization, of using your imagination for good and not evil. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So if we can just imagine everything we want, then, and it actually will then become our reality, it manifests into our lives in the physical form. This is what we want to do over and over and over again because it works, and it's woo woo woo. It's very wooey woo, but I've lived it. And so that said, thank you for being here this morning, Marilyn. How are you?
I'm doing really great, thank you.
Yeah,
I still feel what I got last night when we did the visualization. It's still there for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. This was your first experience with this type of visualization.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we're doing this now because you're finally at a stage in our work together, in our process of now believing without seeing. Believing without seeing, yes. And we had to build up to this because you historically have been, I need to see it before I believe it. Isn't that true? You need to have the evidence. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so
That's what I want.
Yeah. Well, you want the evidence, but if we can believe, which is faith, believing with no evidence, the definition of faith is believing with no evidence, then life is just easy breezy and more, it's lighter, it's funner, it's freer. You know, if we can just go along and have all these dreams and then have them just, plop into our lap.
Right.
Yes. So let's talk about this. In your experience, go ahead and it's still there for you. So tell us what's there for you.
Well, what's there for me is when I looked back at my childhood and some of the incidents that I was angry with that little girl. And whereas I knew I was angry with her, I didn't really I didn't have any compassion for her. So that's what I'm present to this morning, is compassion and love for her. And compassion and love for her little brother and sister, who, especially her little brother, who, interestingly enough, I said from the beginning that I had no problem with my brother. I didn't have a problem until my sister came along. Mm-hmm. But that really wasn't true. And I didn't, so until I owned that or realized that I had a problem with my brother also, who's 3.5 years younger than I am. Until I realized that, I didn't feel, I didn't recognize that I had a problem with him. Mm. So
yes.
So I was able to go back and heal what I didn't even know was broken.
Wow.
So, so it was like that was the beginning of my. Well, it just was. It's like I feel like it was the beginning. Mm-hmm. That I went back to the original source of my upset and anger.
Yes.
Was against my little brother, and because he was. And it's funny because I know I've told you this before, but when my mother told me, she was afraid to tell me that she was pregnant again, and with my sister. And when she told me, I said to her, I hope it's not another dirty, smelly little boy. And I should have realized that, that I considered my brother just a pain in the neck. Mm-hmm. And whereas I considered him a pain in the neck, it wasn't like I didn't feel inadequate. I didn't feel replaced by my brother. He was just a pain in the neck.
Yes. So you're the oldest of 3 children. So let me give the background here. And how old were you again when your brother was born?
About 3.5.
Yes, 3.5. And this is classic. This is so common, it's ridiculous. When the firstborn, starts, the family builds and there's new brothers and sisters coming along, the first child is resentful because they are no longer the center of the universe to their parents. And this is classic. I've heard just one amazing story after another as kids and what kids say when the brother or sister is coming home, from the hospital. But with you, it was your brother, and then so he's a stinky little boy, so that just resides there in your subconscious mind, okay? But by the time your sister comes along and she's a girl, right? That's what, two more years later, you're 5.
Yeah, so it was actually a year and a half later.
Oh, a year and a half later. And that's when it really hit. I call that the final nail in the coffin. So when she comes home.
That's when I was replaced. I just felt replaced when she came.
Yes. So your brother's an annoyance. He's just a stinky little boy. But when another girl comes into the picture, you are absolutely replaced, and your whole world is upside down.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So in this particular guided meditation that I do intuitively to heal these unconscious wounds, this is where it gets really magnificent, and we must go back and heal the unconscious wounds that many people, just because they don't understand it, is many people, we have these broken wounds that run our lives and dictate our lives unconsciously, and we're actually pros at it, meaning we are proficient at the unconscious disempowering behaviors. And it shows up as self-sabotage over and over again. And yet we have no idea what's running the show and why. And so when we go back, this is so powerful. This is my favorite thing, is to go back and heal these wounds. And what happens, it's similar to hypnotherapy, but I do my own version. You are in the theta state, and we're going back, reliving it, but rewriting it on your terms. And what ends up happening, which is still within what I do with all my clients consciously, is we go back and find exactly what is causing the problems in life and the setbacks. We go back and find those. And when we do, we can finally resolve it and heal it by rewriting it and really tricking the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we're doing. It's reprogramming, but we're tricking the subconscious mind to actually have a new outlook, a new perspective on the situation. Yeah. So when we did it with you, we went back and found that you had no idea how much resentment you had toward your brother.
Right. Mm-hmm. I didn't.
No. And that has been getting in the way of your own life.
Yeah.
So can you see how it's affected your life looking backwards right now?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Give us an example of how that's been affecting you and impacting your life in a negative way.
Well, my focus on men, relationship with men, and my inability to have really a good relationship with men.
Yes, because unconsciously you believe what? Men are?
Well, oh, wow, I just got something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I said to my husband, when I said to myself years ago, this is like 48 years ago, when I said to myself, I would have to, since I was so miserably unhappy with my husband, that I would have to just live with him as though he were my brother. If it was my brother, I wouldn't care if he went out with the boys. If it was my brother, I wouldn't be disappointed when we didn't spend time together. So I just looked at my husband. And so that's, so the lack of companionship.
Yes.
Growing up.
Yes.
Yeah, I just got that.
Yeah, beautiful.
No wonder I said it was like my brother, because my brother just, well, because the thing is, I love my brother, but he was just at the periphery of my life.
Yeah, and he's kind of a nuisance.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we love him. Yeah, a nuisance. We love him, but we don't like him. Kind of thing. And, and metaphorically, boys are just stinky and dirty, and, you can take them or leave them.
Right, exactly.
Right? You don't hate them, but it's like, whatever. And then, right, as you said that to yourself, replaying the disconnect. The connection you had to your brother was a disconnected connection.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah. And if you could just see him as your brother, your husband, of course, if you could just see him as your brother, then it would just be so much easier to survive and stay in that type of relationship, because it's not as painful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it was much less painful after that. Much less painful.
And so this is what we do to ourselves over and over and over. The decisions we make, the perceptions we have early on in childhood, is the blueprint for our entire life. And it's automatic. It's the default program. And it's frightening unless we consciously, do something about it and understand it.
Yeah. Right. And I was so annoyed because you kept going back there when I was 3 and a half. You kept going back there, and I was so annoyed because I thought, well, that's not the problem, Why is she going back there?
I know.
So I just, and I didn't recognize when I said that I was just going to live with my husband like it was my brother. I didn't recognize it was because of the relationship I had with my brother. It was just, I loved him. He was like a friend, but he wasn't central to my life.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the disconnect.
Yeah. So it was interesting because when we did this particular exercise together, at first you were saying, as if you're reliving it, because that's what we can do. We can go back and relive it, but also rewrite it and reprogram it. But at first, do you remember actually saying, because you're in a theta state now, so you're, in this really wonderful place. Do you remember saying you don't want your brother around?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. And that's how you felt as a child. I don't want him here.
Yeah, because he was a nuisance.
Yes. But then yes.
I'm sure I was jealous of him, but that wasn't the primary thing. It was like I was annoyed because he needed attention.
Yes.
And he was a nuisance.
Yeah, and he took
my mom's.
Yes.
He took mom's attention away from me.
Exactly. And so as a child, this is interesting. I remember my niece when she was the firstborn, my brother's daughter, and then her brother came along, and my mom told me the cutest story, and we laughed about it. But when the baby was brought home from the hospital, Megan says to her mom, "Can we throw Eric in the garbage?" She wanted to throw him in the garbage. And she said it like a little girl, "I want to throw Eric in the garbage." And I never forgot that. And my mom and I laughed. Ha, 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 ha. This was well before I did any of this work, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's true. And I've coached my little kids where I had a 9-year-old girl. She has a brother, her arch nemesis. Oh my God. She was crying. And she says, "I hate him. I wish he wasn't born. I wish he was dead." She said all these things, and, every child's different, but in what they say. But the point is, they still want to be the center of the universe. And when somebody else steps onto the stage, we're pissed. And a child knows this. And so we got to work it out. And do you know most human beings don't work it out, and they have these weird superficial relationships with their family and their siblings. But then here's the problem. It never goes away, and every relationship from that point forward is extremely familiar and similar, and it's pretty much the same relationship to every single person. And that's what's frightening. Yeah. Because then we're keeping people at arm's length, and we're not really relating. And then, we're not going to get too much into your sister right now, but she was definitely the one who was even more of an arch nemesis than your brother.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting how what happened for you is unconsciously you created this fundamental belief system around boys and men not being that important, like in the periphery, as you're saying.
Right, right.
And that's how it's been for you.
And just being uncooperative and being uncooperative, a pain in the neck.
Yeah, and then that's how your husband has shown up, for you on so many levels, yes? And this is not
definitely
just you.
Uncooperative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a
I had
nuisance.
no influence. I have no influence over him.
Yeah.
That's it. I had no in the beginning I had no influence over my mother. Mm-hmm. Once my brother came, I had a weakened influence over my mother. I mean, before that, I really didn't think about having influence over my mother.
Well, you didn't have to.
I didn't have to.
Right.
And then when my brother came along, I had, then I had a very limited influence over my mother, or limited influence over my mom, and I became conscious of wanting her to do things my way. Mm-hmm. I think at that point, hence I wanted to run away from home, which I shared with you already. And my mother packed my bag, being the wonderful, compassionate person that she is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's interesting.
She thought it was clever.
Yeah, but hang on. Let's go back.
Yes.
Okay, because you when we started this guided, and I mean guided, we have to say it's a guided visualization, and I'm guiding you. So then I said, okay, you can have it your way. We'll get rid of your brother. And I didn't say we're gonna throw him in the lake. No. I said, okay, you get to rewrite this on your terms. And when I just gently asked you, in this theta state, in the meditation, would you like to get rid of him? You said, no, I don't want to get rid of him. We can bring him next door to the neighbors and they can babysit him so I can spend time with my mom.
Right.
So you were the minute you were allowed to get rid of him, you really didn't want to.
Yeah.
Right? And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the healing in this regard. Is that by the time the meditation ran its course and we did everything we needed to do, you ended up what? How did you feel about your brother?
I had a lot of compassion for him, and I just loved him, and I wanted to comfort him.
So as we went through the exercise, it was about an hour, and it felt like nothing, right? You lose time and space. But by the time we came full circle, you had this enormous compassion for him and this love for him because you were allowed to just be with where you were.
Yeah.
And you got to just feel it out now that you had a choice, that we could go back and rewrite it on your terms. You saw that you had a choice. Yeah.
And I didn't feel that I had to have power over him anymore. I just got that.
Yes.
There was an absence of the need to manage him.
Right. Do you remember how that came to be? What happened that gave you the
when I was visualizing holding him and comforting him, and we talked about, I could have compassion on him even though he's screaming or he says no or what babies do, and that he won't go to sleep and that he won't let me hold him. I could still have compassion for him. It didn't change how, I was compassionate. Whatever his upset was, it was okay.
Yeah.
I was okay with his being upset.
Yes, because you're big.
In a sense, because I didn't have to manage him. I didn't feel like I needed to stop his crying, and that there was something inadequate in me if I didn't.
Exactly.
That's really the whole thing.
Yes.
I wanted to stop his crying, but if I didn't, I wasn't attached to it.
Yeah. In the beginning, you felt like you needed to rescue him or save him from his squirming and his wiggly jiggliness and him wanting to get away from you, and he was crying.
Yeah.
And it made you feel less than about yourself because you had no power to help him.
Exactly. And I think that's where my feeling like resenting adults who expect little kids to take care of other little kids came from.
Yes. Well, and that was your life.
Came from there.
Well, that was your life.
I was the oldest, and I was expected to stop them from crying or go get them if they're running off or something. And then I would get in trouble because they didn't stop crying and they ran off and didn't do what I wanted, didn't come.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how I resent that so much when I see an adult send some little 7 or 8 year old kid after their 3-year-old brother or sister, and they're trying to get them to come, and then when they drag them back, the parent is saying, well, what did you do to them? Why are they crying? I've just seen that so many times. And actually, I probably haven't seen it that many times. It's just that it impresses me when I do see it. So yes. Because that's what was there for me. I was supposed to take care of them. I was supposed to do it without them crying or whatever. And I resented that. That's what I resented.
Yes, exactly. It's just your perceptions.
Being expected to have influence over them.
Yes. And that's because your mother had you take care of your siblings, and you you perceived that you had no influence and power over them to help them, and therefore you felt less than and inadequate.
Yeah, And I resented the expectation that I felt was there on me.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting.
Which may or may not have been there. I don't know. It might not have been there.
Exactly right.
I perceived it. I put it on myself.
Right. And let's just quickly flash forward, is that it's no accident that you're a teacher today responsible for little kids, and like 20 and 30 at a time, 10, 20, 30 kids at a time.
Right.
That's no accident.
Yeah.
Right? So you can keep this.
Exactly.
This.
I'm still trying to manage. I'm still trying to manage, or I'm trying to prove that I can't manage, or however it works.
Both ways.
I guess.
It's both ways.
Works both ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now that we can go back and stop the insanity wheel, stop the madness, you perceive that it was up to you to manage them, to have influence over them, to have power over them. No. It's just relate to them. Just be with them.
Yeah.
Right? And stop trying to prove your own self-worth through whether or not you have any influence over them. That's what this is about. Right?
Yeah.
So we in this healing meditation, you were able to go and reconnect to your little doll, Mary Jane. So adorable. And that helped you to become reconnected to your brother.
Yeah.
In this guided imagery. And then have this profound sense of compassion. So let's really stay on that right now. We just have a few minutes left here. The before snapshot was what? Before you started the meditation?
Well, before I started the meditation, for one thing, I thought all of it was about my relationship with my sister and my mom. And definitely my relationship with my mom. And but now, so when I saw that how much I resented my brother, and how much I resented my mother, well, at that point, I think I resented my mother, but it was more like if he wasn't there, then it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yes, exactly.
So it wasn't my mother's fault, although it was, but it was mostly my brother's fault.
Yeah, you could let go of the blame of blaming him for not having enough attention from your mother.
Right. Or for taking the attention from me.
Yes. So again, I have to emphasize, it's what we can't see that we must be able to see in order to heal, in order to transform the old patterns and create new ones that empower us.
Yeah.
And create
better
feelings. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what I see now that I didn't see before is that my annoyance and resentment over my brother is not the same as it was over my sister. That it's like I blamed my brother for taking my mother's attention.
Yeah.
And I blamed my mom for bothering with him. But when my sister came along, I blamed myself.
Yes. It just escalates. It just gets worse over time.
Yeah. So that's the difference, which I didn't see before.
Yeah, and that's incredible and so profoundly enlightening, because now you have something to work with. We have something, to work with so that we can transform it. So that said, how can you see, what benefits can you see in this experience yesterday?
Well, I have clarity now. That's a huge benefit. That I have clarity into my own, the source of my disconnect.
Yeah.
Because I thought the source of my disconnect was when my sister was born. And that is definitely one of the sources. But the sources really was when my brother was born, and the disconnect that began. It began there.
Yes, there was a huge lack of compassion and empathy.
Yeah, I was just pissed off.
Yeah, because you were hurting underneath it. Pissed off,
Yeah.
Is a cover-up for sadness and hurt. It's sadness, and underneath the sadness is hurt because you felt like you were no longer important to your mommy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then...
definitely not as important as I had been before.
Yep.
But it was like I would have been if he hadn't been there.
Yeah, so
but
you
he's
think.
the one that changed it. Because I wasn't... Well, but there wasn't anything wrong with me.
Exactly.
See, I was hurt and mad, but there was nothing wrong with me then. But when my sister came, it was because there was something wrong with me.
Right, because as a child, you're just piecing the puzzle with the information you have, and over time, it gets worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it really makes a difference to see, to see where it began. Mm-hmm. And that's probably why I wanted to run away from home.
Exactly.
Something about my brother. I don't remember what it was, but I have no problem now seeing that I was having a tantrum of some sort because my mom was paying attention to my brother and not to me.
Yes, and you're feeling disconnected and unimportant, and as though you no longer matter as much as you did before your brother was born.
Right.
So clearly if a 3-year-old wants to run away from home, they're not happy.
Yeah.
Right? Their needs are not being met. We can clearly say that. And it makes sense. Yeah. It just makes sense because, why would a child want to run away from home if they're happy?
Right. I wasn't happy.
No.
I was definitely not happy.
No. Like most children who have siblings. And so, but what we really want to emphasize is by the end of the meditation, you had this enormous, overwhelming feeling of compassion for your brother that I've never heard you express before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is all within the healing, the brokenness between your relationship with yourself and with boys and men. You see this? Brother, father, husband, son, grandson. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Right? But the bottom line is you were able to come full circle to not wanting to get rid of him, but actually relating to him to be there to comfort him, not try and influence him or have power over him, but just to love him for who he was and who he wasn't as a squirmy, stinky little boy, and you holding him. Remember that? Yeah,
exactly. That I didn't have to control him. It wasn't it was no longer my responsibility to make him to manage him.
Yeah. It was
that's the key.
Exactly. Your responsibility was just to love him unconditionally.
Right. It wasn't, I didn't have to manage him. Mm-hmm. And that's really what's there for me, is having to manage people.
Yes. So we're going back and healing your unconditional love and acceptance for yourself and the little girl within you, first and foremost. And then it's automatic. You project that outward. And we did do that through you loving your little doll, Mary Jane.
Yes, right.
And so once we were able to do that with you, then, see, Mary Jane came first and your little doll, and you went to this wonderful, beautiful place with this doll. And then after that, you were able to reconnect to your brother and project that onto him, that same love that you had for your doll, out onto your brother.
Yeah.
And that's what's so magnificent here, is to come out of it loving yourself unconditionally, right? And then being able to love your brother and reconnect to him in a deeper, more profound way. Would that be an understatement?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. And how are you feeling right now about represencing this? Can you feel it? That same sensation?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel, I feel really good about it, and I feel, well, as I said at the beginning, it's still very present for me.
Yeah.
It's still very present for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so how does it feel right now for you in your body, in your energy? What feelings do you have, are you present to in this moment?
Oh, I'm present to this kind of profound peace.
Whew.
Which is
Wow.
what's there for me. It's just like a peace.
Yeah. Exactly. And in that, in our beingness and feeling peaceful and relaxed and connected and having this sense of empathy and compassion, we're able to then have that come through us outward. And it's in that beingness that is most attractive and magnetic.
Yeah.
Right? Not to even mention that you just get to be peaceful. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Who cares if anyone even notices or comes toward us, which they do anyway. But just for you to be with this profound sense of inner peace, isn't that what life's truly all about in the end?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just a peace and a peace and a confidence that comes from this peace.
Yes.
That expression that I have nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing I have to do, only what I choose to do. So really, only what I choose to do at this point.
Yeah. And that's like a sense of what? Joy and happiness too, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I'm getting right now. Like, wow, nothing to do, nothing to have, nothing, to prove, a sense of inner peace.
Yes, nothing to prove, nothing to manage.
Oh, God, exactly.
Nothing to manage.
Amen.
I don't have to manage anything.
Oh, God.
I don't have to make anything happen.
Yeah. You can just be peaceful and enjoy the moment, right? There is no past. There is no future. It's just right now. But we do, I'm not going to lie, we have to go back and heal the brokenness of our past. And every human being has brokenness in their past, whether they think so or not. Sorry. And either we ignore it and just run by default, or we go back, heal it, transform our lives, right? Take responsibility and design it our way. Living life on our terms. And that's, that's how I want to live before I'm dead. And it's not for everybody, but it is for us, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And I highly recommend it. So Marilyn, wow, thank you so much for sharing your experience here with us and represencing it, and your commitment to healing the brokenness and connecting the dots is so inspiring.
Yes, thank you.
And I've never heard you, and all the time I've known you and have been working with you, to actually have you, do you know that you've never really said, oh, I love my brother and I have a profound compassion for him?
No, I've never said that.
No. That's the brand newness here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. Now, here's what's interesting. I mean, he has passed, he has crossed over, as I say.
Yes.
He is no longer with us in the physical form. But when you just think about that compassion with that little boy, it keeps his spirit alive, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So we can heal anything, whether the person's alive or dead or still with us or in a coma. We can heal it.
Right. Right.
So, and there's our time. Is that your pie timer?
Yes, my pies are coming out of the oven in a moment.
Ooh, beautiful. How wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
So
can smell them all the way in here.
I know,
Great.
Yummy. Okay, well, I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to continue on and just let people know if they want to contact me. But if you have to go, if there's any last words of wisdom you'd like to share, please do now, or run along and attend to your yummy pies.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would just like to say, Karen, really, that this would not have happened without you, because I never even, in fact, as I said earlier, I was really annoyed when you wanted to go back to my brother, because I kept thinking, it's not about my brother, it's not my sister, so who came along a year and a half later. And that was, in many ways, it was a more profound disconnect when she came, but still, it started with him. And now that you brought that up, I was able to connect the dots with my looking at my husband as my brother, how that would ease the pain, and really the source now of why I wanted to run away from home and wanted to manage my mother. I just wanted to force her, to put me first.
Yes.
In other words.
Wow.
And to put me first again, because I was first in her life, and then my brother came along, and I wasn't first anymore. So that's what's there for me, is the realization, connecting the dots, as it were, and it's opened up all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I just want to say this: it's counterintuitive. When we can be at peace and have this enormous, profound compassion and empathy, and be there for ourselves and be there for others, guess who gets to be first all the time without even trying or forcing?
Yeah, me.
Exactly.
All righty, my dear.
Okay, so wonderful.
Thank you again. I love you and appreciate you, and I'm just so excited.
Yes, me
about
too.
What's possible for me now that wasn't possible for me, before yesterday.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and you're amazing. And have a miraculous Thanksgiving Day. And wow, I love you too. Okay, take care.
So you have a great day also.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Love you. Bye. So here we have such a miraculous testimonial and proof that our past does matter, and we can go back and heal it. And this work I've done for myself, and it has been so profound. That's why I include it in my coaching practice. Marilyn did have to build up to it. Her strength has not been able to visualize and be able to just calm her mind down up until this point, and she's finally ready for this. And I just want to emphasize how vitally important it is to do this, and the miracles that can come of it. And I live it. I just practice. I teach and preach what I practice and what has worked for me. And what has worked for me is to go back and do this for myself and tap into that inner child who had a lot of emotional issues and go back and heal those. So if anyone is interested in this particular aspect of my work, and it's included in my private coaching package, but I also do it separate as well, because it has enormous beneficial attributes. And I mean, it's just point blank, it's extremely healing, and it's very deep, and we are doing the same work, but it has this amazing ability to have us feeling good sooner than later, and experience this profound emotional, spiritual, physical, mental wonderfulness. And so if you are interested, please email me at KarenLoveLee@gmail.com, and I will set up a complimentary 20-minute consultation to tell you more about this and how it works. And I couldn't recommend it enough, not just because it's what I do with my clients, but doing it in general, with or without me. I highly recommend it. It's amazing, and it's like no other feeling I can even describe in words. So that said, thank you all so much. KarenLoveLee@gmail.com. And I call this the guided healing visualization and or meditation. But it's a guided healing meditation. Any one of those words, whatever resonates with you, because it's all encompassing. And again, it's highly intuitive. There's no cookie cutter system. I cater it directly to your situation, your needs, your words, the way you assimilate information. It's all about you, and it's worth a try, because I just started to offer this separately, and because I see so many benefits and it can help so many people. So that said, thank you all so much for listening, and here's to healing any disempowering beliefs that you have, and it's really the ones you can't see. It's all the unconscious ones, and in that, the magic and miracles are inevitable when we heal that and go back and look for what we can't see and what we don't know, we didn't know. And that's what did it for me. That's what saved my life. That's what gave me the will to live. And not just the will to live, but it also led me to my purpose finding me, and then now being able to help others who can relate to my story, to the people in my circles, and help you to thrive, have an incredibly happy, dream-filled life. And for that, I'm so grateful. And thank you all for being part of my calling, my divine calling, mission, and purpose in evolving our consciousness and the power of self-love, the power of self-evolution. And until we meet again, may all your dreams come true, become real, and may you be happy, healthy, and full of inner peace and wonder. Thank you so much.